Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the public hearing meeting held at 6 p.m. on May 9th, 2023. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukitamakas, the unceded traditional territory of Yakutat, and we recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. The Kanahunik are from Yakutat and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted by in-person and electronic means in accordance with the Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation: that if the communication link to the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. We will now, in advance of opening the first of two hearings, I'll read the following statement. The following public hearings are convened pursuant to the Local Government Act to allow the public to make representation to Council respecting matters contained in the following proposed bylaws. Zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2486, to receive submissions from the public regarding the proposed rezoning of 1316 McLeod Avenue from RWF Low Density Residential West Fernie to R1 SL Single Family Residential Small Lot. And zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2488, to receive submissions from the public regarding the proposed rezoning of 20 Elkview Drive from R1 Single Family Residential to R1B Single Detached Plus Residential. At these hearings, any person present who believes their interest in the property is affected shall be given an opportunity to be heard on matters contained in the proposed bylaws. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. However, it is important that all who speak at this meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaws. Those of you who wish to speak should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to Council by clearly stating your name and address, and then you may share your views with Council. Members of Council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of the Council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of Council at these hearings to debate the merits of the proposed bylaws. After the hearing is concluded, Council is not permitted to receive further submissions on the proposed bylaws. The Mayor will convene the regular meeting of Council and may give further consideration to the proposed bylaws. Thank you. And so we will convene the first hearing for zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2486, 2023. And I'll ask for a summary of notice of hearing from the corporate office.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can confirm that public notice requirements for bylaw 2486 have been met in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act. Public notice for the proposed bylaw amendment was advertised in the April 27th and May 4th editions of the Fernie Free Press and posted at the city's public notice places across from the post office and in City Hall and on the city's website on or before April 26th. Notice of the hearing was mailed to registered owners within a 100-meter radius of the subject property on or before April 26th and hand-delivered to occupants of those properties on or before April 26th.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. And I will now call on Mr. Simolini for the staff presentation, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. My apologies, that's 2488, that's the next one. So bylaw number 2486 to amend the zoning bylaw for 1360 McLeod Avenue. It is to rezone from RWF, that is low density residential West Fernie, to R1SL, single family residential small lot. This would facilitate the subdivision of the property into potentially 3 small lots. We are recommending approval tonight. It is consistent with our OCP and with our affordable housing strategy. Just a quick summary, council did provide first and second reading in April, April 11th, 2023. And as Ms. Daniel noted, the notice of public hearing requirements were met. We did receive 2 public comments, both in favor of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's no additional correspondence?
No, but I'd be happy to give a summary whenever.
Please.
Okay, so as Manager Similini noted, 2 submissions were received in support of the zoning amendment, expressing that they believe that this will help to create the needed supply of properties of varying types and price points, help to achieve full use of limited land space available within the city, as well as it was noted that they believed the proposed widths are acceptable as they are similar to those seen in main town and annex areas.
Thank you. And now I'll call for a presentation by the applicant or their agent.
Just sorry, one moment, just looking.
Hello, Fernie City Council.
Good evening. Could you give us your name and address, please?
Yeah, my name is Pat Taranchuk, address at 65 Cokato Road, Fernie, BC.
Thank you. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, so as the owner of the lot 1360 McLeod Ave, I'm proposing to take a single lot and divide it into 3 by changing that zoning from R1 West Fernie to R1 small lot. And following through with the community's OCP plan. It fits within all the guidelines that I can see that you guys are suggesting for more density instead of expansion, for not creating any more issues with the city infrastructure, no more added pipelines needed. It is, I can go through the exact numbers if you guys want, but support infill and redevelopment through the city. Encourage and support more diverse housing stock within each neighborhood. There was another item about using more of a walkable neighborhood and creating more lots closer to downtown is within that as well, instead of expanding out and going farther up the mountain. I think that's all the information that I have. It was spelled out in that application, I think, pretty clearly, and the city did a very thorough investigation into it, and they sided with what I'm trying to do.
Thank you. With that, I'll call from submissions from the floor. If there's anyone online who'd like to speak, we'll give them the first chance.
Your worship, no one at the specified place or online indicating they wish to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes, I appreciate that. And any questions from council? Seeing none?
As there were no hands up or anybody that was present, so we covered.
Oh,
But thank you. No.
Yeah, I did think that I actually wrote first, second, third call, but thanks for checking. With that, as there's no questions, Pat? We won't ask you to respond to anything, but appreciate your attendance. And with that, I will close the hearing. We'll move on to the second hearing, item 3.2, zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2488, 2023. I shall convene the hearing and ask Ms. Daniels to read the summary of the notice of hearing.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I can confirm that the public notice requirements for bylaw 2488 have been met in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act. Public notice for the proposed bylaw amendment was advertised in the April 27th and May 4th editions of the Fernie Free Press and posted at the city's public notice places across from the post office and in City Hall and on the city's website on or before April 26th. Notice of the hearing was mailed to registered owners within a 100-meter radius of the subject property on or before April 26th and was hand-delivered to occupants of those properties on or before April 26th.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. And now I'll call upon, again, Mr. Cimolini for our staff presentation.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw 2488 for 20 Elkview Drive. The application is to rezone the property from R1, single family residential, to R1B, single detached plus residential. This would facilitate the conversion of an existing garage into a garage suite. As discussed previously, previous meetings, there are some other potential issues with the site as far as slope and geotechnical. However, that can be taken care of through our hazard lands development permit process. This application is consistent with the OCP and affordable housing strategy, and that is increasing density and potentially contributing towards housing affordability and diversity. And a quick summary, Council did provide first and second readings on April 11th. Public hearing requirements were met as noted, and one public comment was received, again in support of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Cimolini. And I'll ask Ms. Daniels for the summary of correspondence.
Yes, so one submission was received, and it was in support of the zoning amendment, noting their belief that this will support the creation of more affordable housing options.
Thank you very much. And now I will call for a presentation by the applicant or their agent.
Can you hear me?
We can, Mr. Liggett.
Okay.
If you use
Thank
your
you.
full name and address, please.
22 Silver Ridge Way. I am the agent for Kevin Cullen on this project, and it's been his desire to turn that into a secondary suite so that he can come and have a place to stay when he's down here, which is quite frequently at this point. He's at Fort Mac, and then have a secondary suite to rent when he moves down here in the near future. I don't think there's much else to say. We do need housing. It's would be a detached unit, which is fairly unusual for the housing in Fernie right now. Most of them are within another house, and it seems to be our preliminary geotech is has said that it's feasible, and our engineering says the slab's adequate to do a more substantial house on it. So that's kind of it.
Thank you, Mr. Liggett. With that, I will call for submissions from the floor or online. Ms. Rhodes, if there's anyone.
Your Worship, no one online or in person wishing they indicate to speak.
Thank you very much. And any questions from council? Seeing none? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the hearing.
And with that, I will close the hearing and adjourn the hearing meeting. Thank you. Sorry. With that, we will convene the regular meeting of Fernie City Council, convened at 6:16 on May 9th, 2023. And once again, acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded traditional territory of Yakutat and Kliat. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat and Kliat and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I will call the meeting to order. And with this, ask for a mover and seconder for the following staff recommendation: that if the communication linked to the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Moved by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. And I will ask for a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda and any late items. Moved by Councillor Pazik, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And before we go on to adopt the minutes of the previous council meeting, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that it's National Emergency Preparedness Week, and to thank city staff for the hard work they do to keep our municipality prepared so we are ready to respond in the event of an emergency. Everyone has a role to play in an emergency, and this week is an opportunity for all of us to take action to ensure that we are prepared to protect ourselves and our families during an emergency. So thank you. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous council meeting held on April 25th, 2023, and the minutes of a special council meeting held on May 2nd, 2023. Moved by Councillor Shoesmith, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Well, with that, I'll open the floor to public participation and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. And a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. So I'll ask Ms. Rhodes if there's anybody online or in the specified place who wishes to speak.
Yes, Your Worship, Pierre is wishing to speak.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, not sure if my video is on or not.
It's not.
Okay, so I want to, my name is Pierre Dupont. I live at 692 Fifth Avenue in Fernie. And I would like to speak on agenda item 9.1, the Aurelia Dog Park. So I am the president of the Fernie Pet Society, and Director Logan has informed me this morning that I am not able to answer your questions following his presentation. So I want to just make a few comments before he presents the plan for the dog park. So first of all, I'd like to thank the city of Fernie on behalf of all the dog owners in Fernie for allowing us to build a dog park on city property. It's proven to be a lot more popular than we ever anticipated. So it's been a great success. The main item I wanted to talk about was the ongoing operational cost for the dog park, which are covered right now by the Fernie Pet Society. So our costs annually are about $8,000, which includes providing the dog waste bags, the snow clearing, the waste removal, the lawn mowing, the fuel services, equipment. It's all of that amounts to about $8,000, which is funded entirely through donations right now. So there's no stable funding for the ongoing operational costs of the dog park, and most grants are not able to cover operational costs. So that is fully funded by donations. And obviously we have to raise $8,000 a year just to keep the dog park running. So we have some ideas on how to provide increased funding, maybe perhaps through dog licensing. We have ideas on how to increase the number of dog licenses. For example, you know, we estimate there's about 1,300 dogs in Fernie. If even half of those were licensed, that would bring in $10,000 a year. So, you know, there's additional money that can be made by promoting dog licensing, and we can certainly help the city do that. And you know, we other than that, we're continuing to just fundraise through our usual methods, which is requesting donations from corporations and the public. The other thing I want to mention is the project plan that Brett is going to, Director Logan is going to be presenting later on in the meeting, is not cast in stone. There are a number of changes already to the project plan that are likely. For example, we are unlikely to be able to go ahead with the project to provide power and an EV charger for the dog park, mainly due to ongoing issues between the city of Fernie and BC Hydro. So basically, that just seems like it's not possible this year. Other projects may change, but those are basically the points I wanted to raise before Director Logan makes his presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. That's very helpful. Thank you. Ms. Rhodes, is there anyone else?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to item number 6, consideration of bylaws and issuance of permits arising from public hearings or public notice periods. Item 6.1, the zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2486/2023 for third reading. With the report from the city planner, we don't need the report.
Just briefly, that we're recommending third reading before.
Thank you very much. And the last remover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation, the zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2486/2023 be given third reading. Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And then item 6.2, zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2488/2023 for third reading. And from our city planner?
Yes, Your Worship, just again recommending that council give third reading to the bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Simulini. And the following staff recommendation will require a mover and a seconder. The zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2488/2023 be given third reading. Moved by Councillor Audia Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to item 8. Item 8.1, petition for local area service designation, Cedars Sanitary Sewer Lift Station, local area service bylaw number 2495/2023, and Cedars Sanitary Sewer Lift Station, local area service parcel tax bylaw number 2496/2023, and a report from our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Evening, Council. Just a few slides tonight on the sewer lift station local area service and related parcel tax bylaw for the Cedars subdivision. Phases 5, 6, and 7 of the Cedars, the topography of the land up there require that these 3 phases meet their own sanitary sewer lift station. And upon engineering review of Phase 5 of the Cedars, there was concerns raised by staff about the number of lots that this sewer lift station would be servicing. And so there was concerns raised from an asset management point of view, and also the risk that the general ratepayer is subsidizing development up there. And so during discussion between staff and the developer, we explored the possibility of establishing a local area service for replacement costs and maintenance costs of this lift station. And then the developer filed a petition to the city in accordance with section 212 of the community charter. And that's why these 2 bylaws are before you tonight. This is a map of the area in question. The map of the Cedar subdivision. The area outlined in orange or red there is phases 5 through 7 of the Cedars. Phase 5 is the phase just above the little pathway there, about halfway down. There is a bigger version of this slide in your agenda package, and because this map does include the future phases 6 and 7, it's worth pointing out that it's still conceptual in terms of final layout. And finally, the staff recommendation tonight is on this slide, and we're here to help answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. Any questions for our Director of Finance? Councillor Nixon and then Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mayor Mogan. I think this is the first parcel tax petition that we've seen in 5 years. So I have a bunch of questions. And I looked at that map, the red boundary in the staff report, but there was a bunch of empty spaces. It was different than the map that was on here. But regardless, what happens to these homes that are in the blank areas, like in the lots aren't sold? Do they get the parcel tax applied to them later, or is it like if they were the last one to buy a lot in there, and then everybody else is buying lots? How does it work do those people catch up? Do they have to? No.
Thank you for that.
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of all over the place because I have a bunch of questions.
With respect to the map, page 76 just outlines phase 5. And then there's another map on page 83, which has the same one in the presentation there. And then for the moment, the developer owns all of the lots, so they will be responsible for the property tax beginning next year. And as the lots get sold, then those new rolls will be set up with this property tax in accordance with the math, with lot size and the rate. So a bit of work from finance tracking perspective, but we have other parcel taxes that we track this for already.
Okay.
Councillor Schuster.
Yeah, so it's mentioned in here that it's subject to 3% inflation for a 50-year period, basically. Question being, if we find inflation to be higher or lower than that, how easy is that to adjust? Like, what mechanisms do we have for that?
Mr. Boranowski might have more detail, but I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off. I mean, say if the costs were to double, but we're agreed on a 3% inflation rate, obviously then we're in a hole.
Absolutely, and I don't know if we have many tools to adjust this bylaw after the fact, but I will point out that all of our infrastructure is at that sort of risk when it comes to our contributions to reserves, and we kind of plan for inflation, but it's, as we've found out the last year or two, it's anybody's guess. And so there's always risk around that.
If I can, Your Worship, I will have to bring back a response on the process to amend a bylaw such as this once enacted. I don't think it's entirely straightforward, but there was quite a bit of analysis and discussion back and forth between the developer / majority property owner and city staff to reach what we felt was a mutually agreeable proposal.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Nixon?
That was another question that I had was the inflation idea, and then, was there an opportunity to link that to CPI inside of the bylaw? But you're gonna bring that back, so that's another question. I also had another question, the timeline for the entire process, and we just go until all the lots are sold, sort of thing?
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will ask Ms. Daniels to read the first recommendation.
That Cedar Sanitary Sewer Lift Station Local Area Service Establishment Bylaw number 2495, 2023 be given first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councilman Patrick, seconded by Councilman Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And the second recommendation?
That Cedar Sanitary Sewer Lift Station Local Area Service Parcel Tax Bylaw number 2496, 2023 be given first, second, and third readings.
Moved by Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor Schussman. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Moving along, item 9 and 9.1 are 2023 Rail Yard Dog Park Plan report from our Director of Parks and Recreation and Facilities, Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I have a few quick slides. So the recommendation today is to approve the rail yard dog park plan as prepared by the Pet Society, and also direct staff to engage the Fernie Pet Society to determine if the partnership can extend to another location within the city. For the purpose of the presentation, I've sort of carved out of the project plan in the report, section 2, the items that most affect city staff, and they are. The providing of a dumpster was included in the original service agreement contract, and we have yet to put that in place. It's a low cost and it's a wash from other dumpsters we've removed from other locations, so there's no increase to the operating budget this year. Also placing boulders on the lawn section at the park just to direct traffic to not drive on the turf or the mud. So we had already planned to purchase multiple boulders for other parks as well, so that's no increase to the operation budget, so only a few stones. Installing the dog park, the railway dog park sign is another project that the city will take on. We have the existing sign structure. There's a small cost associated to making the print of the sign, about $150, also absorbed through general operating and parks. And there's just some time commitment through city staff. We're also going to look into a feasibility of a pit toilet at the site, hoping to bring back a bit of a report at a later date to review sort of where we are with toilets in the community and what the best use of those and placement for those would be. And then, as Pierre mentioned before, that BC Hydro service pole location, there's some work to be done by the city just for approving the plan presented by Hydro. And then there's going to be a joint project to remove some of the hazards. The Pet Society's done a tremendous job of cleaning up the park to date, but there's still some hazards that exist underground that are showing up above ground that require some equipment and a little more effort to remove. So we're recommending that staff take part in that for about a day with some equipment and machinery to get rid of some of those bigger hazards that are more difficult for volunteers. So of the above, I estimate about 60 hours of maintenance staff time for all of that. There's some additional work to being done by the Dog Parks Society specifically. They're needing a storage solution. In the existing service agreement, there was some discussion and on providing a CCAN location for them to provide or to keep their equipment. So they'd like to look at a potential chain link fence on the property somewhere where they can secure some of their equipment without having to travel. Right now, they're traveling from I believe a personal residence with their lawnmower, and it's they're just hoping to make that a little safer. They're also looking to include some play structures on the park property, and we have some materials that are kicking around the yard that would make good use for that, some tires, culverts, etc. So we're gonna do a walkthrough and see what we can clean up in the yard and reuse for that. And then there's, what was this, the signage. I think the society's gonna work on some signage, making it more apparent of who's running the park and who to contact for requests for service and that type of thing. And that's it, quick report. Happy to ask or answer any questions, and I can break out more detail of that project plan if needed.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Logan? Councilor Hammond.
Thank you, through your worship to staff. In the report, it talks a couple places about Columbia Basin Trust funding that they'd secured expires end of May 2023, and it seems we're almost, well, we're a third of the way through May 2023. I'm wondering if there's been any communication or update from the trust on extending that funding for them.
Your worship, through to Councillor Hamilton. I believe the report gives an update on the status of that, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I believe there's been an extension.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a fair question, because I wasn't clear on whether it's been extended either, and it did occur to me to make a note whether a letter of support from the city to assist with extending.
Not their fault, so to speak.
Yeah, it was in order, and was certainly willing to do that.
That actually said in there specifically that they did not know that it would get an extension, right?
Yeah, I think
That's what I do recall reading as well.
Yeah, same.
So you're referring to the Ready grant?
There was a ready grant request, but they had existing.
They had existing funding from the trust for the installation of the power pole.
Yeah, that's right.
But that funding expired May 2023, and they didn't know about it getting it extended. That was my interpretation.
It was hung up in, I think as Mr. Dupont indicated, between us and Hydro, the city and Hydro.
So I can elaborate a bit on the situation with the hydro poles, if it's in the interest of council. So there is a hydro service extending from the pathway, the hydro line pathway outside of the dog park. Some time ago, and Director Lennis might have more information on that. The property behind the bottle depot required a service, and that service came from those hydro lines across the area where the snow dump is right now. There was never a registered right-of-way on the property for that. And so it came to light, I guess, when we started looking into where the best hydro pole was to hook up for the site. And Hydro was willing to hook it up for sure, but they wanted that statutory right-of-way on paper to avoid, future planning restrictions, I guess, as far as developing the property. We didn't feel that was the best course of action. So we discussed with them the potential to realign the service and remove that out of compliance easement or right-of-way to come from the street, what is that, 6th, I believe?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ridgemont,
Or is it Ridgemont? Yeah, sorry, Ridgemont. So that's where kind of the hang up is. It's a quite extensive project because I believe there's a roadway, a potential roadway there that needs to be considered if we're realigning those poles. So definitely a little more thought involved in engineering. There may be a temporary solution there. I believe Hydro is potentially okay with hooking up to the existing pole with the understanding that it isn't in compliance and going across our property illegally, to eventually address it when the time came to installing a road. So I need to get back to Hydro on that we'll be okay with that, but we probably have to document it somehow that that's not committing to allowing that statutory right of way.
Fair. Yeah. Thank you for that. If, and certainly Mr. Dupont is still watching, if they do require some input from the city to ensure that their funds are extended, we're happy to write a letter in support and commit to continue working in good faith to ensure that they have what they need. Thank you, Ms. Willoughby. Councilor Ike Kelly, did you have a question?
No, yes,
Thank you.
answered it.
Councilor Fenton.
I'm just wondering, Your Worship, do we need a resolution for a letter in support if needed, or are we gonna wait until?
I think we can wait till we get a request.
Question?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the start of the presentation, there was, in one of the bullet points, was continuing to talk about extending service, or not service, but creating another facility with the support of the Pet Society. And in Mr. Dupont's comments during the public participation period, he alluded to the funding that they're currently using for their operations. So I'm curious if we have the budget, or if there's been consideration in the budget to, if we're creating another facility, how that's going to be funded. Is the expectation that it's going to be continue to be volunteer driven and donation supported, or donation driven and volunteer supported, or will we be starting to allocate some city funding to maintain these parks?
Your Worship, through Councillor Hamilton. So it's very preliminary in exploring another location that is supported by our OCP to provide off-leash dog parks. I mentioned that in the 2013 Major Service Master Plan to find other locations. And the addition of the railway dog park's been fantastic. And there's a clear need for more space for dog owners. That's enforced by bylaws comments. And they're fairly excited about this service agreement with the Dog Park Society, because they're seeing a lot of dog-human conflicts, and a lot of off-leash runners and such. So I feel there is definitely a need for another location in town, because this is quite busy, the existing one. So they have expressed interest, or Pierre has expressed interest to explore that option and extend this service agreement potentially to that. I'm not sure what the particulars would be as far as funding it goes. Start some of the work that was done by the Pet Society was to establish sort of a core amenities for dog parks. So that's a bit of a starting point to understand what the costs of creating another one would be. And until we sort of had that conversation of where it would be and what it would need, we wouldn't know what the cost would be, but we could bring that back to council for consideration if we did want to go down that road and potentially support more of the operational costs.
Councilor Ali Kelly.
Through the Director Logan, through Mayor Mangan. Mr. Dupont mentioned some ideas that they had to increase dog licensing. Did he share those with you, Director Logan?
Yes, I pulled up an email. So he's removed it. I believe there's a model in Calgary, and he sent me some quick information on how successful that was. I looped bylaw in it as well. I'm sure they have some ideas on how that can be enforced. But it's a bit of a rewards program in a way, where working at getting higher compliance may result in some sort of benefit back to the dog owner. He sent me a couple quick videos on it. I haven't watched it, just to add a workload. But I do think there's an interest from bylaw in maybe discussing this further with them, and we might have the opportunity to do that when we go around with bylaw and Pierre, looking at other dog sites to explore that further.
Thank you.
Mr. Lyons, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just that
we certainly do have an interest in liaisoning with Pierre and the Pet Society to increase dog licenses, and that's definitely on our radar.
Excellent.
So if Pierre is still listening, we're gonna make sure that we get in contact with him on that. It sounds like a great initiative.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's an excellent idea. And just for clarity, Mr. Logan, the second staff recommendation just commits us to engage with the society and not do no monetary commitment there.
That's correct, no further, just to further the conversation.
Perfect, thank you.
Discuss opportunities.
Excellent. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Logan. So I will ask Ms. Daniel to read the first recommendation.
That council approve the rail yard dog park plan prepared by the Fernie Pet Society as required by the service provider agreement with the Fernie Pet Society.
Moved by Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. And the second recommendation?
That council directs staff to engage the Fernie Pet Society to determine if the partnership can extend to another location within the city.
Moved by Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor McIsaac. Any discussion? All in favor? Also unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Logan.
No problem.
Moving on. Wow, feels like we zipped through this one. To reports from council members. I will start with Councilor Hamilton. Caught my
I
eye.
have nothing to report this week, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councilor Schuster?
Nothing to report, other than that, the town was absolutely awesome this time of year. My favorite place to be, so that's about all.
Thank you. Councilor Nixon?
I have almost something to I just want to say thanks to the 19 groups that came out for the Columbia Basin Trust Community Initiatives Grants night at the Senior Center. Unfortunately, we were oversubscribed by $140,000, but we did our best. I want to say all the groups that came out that night, that they were successful or not successful, that we really appreciate everything that they do in our community. And to keep up the great work. And that was Tuesday. So Wednesday and Thursday were bylaw number 3213 and 3214, Militia Creek CH Nelson Holdings Limited, otherwise known as the Galloway Lands. I just want to say thanks to all the directors for coming to Fernie, and Mayor Milligan and Director McDonald and Director Gay, that spending that much time. It was pretty intense, and I couldn't be more proud of this community in the attendance and how well-spoken people were for both nights. I guess the decision now rests in the hands of the 15 directors of the regional district, and I guess we'll see what happens this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ivey,
Pretty much follow that up. I actually really don't have a lot to report. Just more of a personal appeal to consider becoming an organ donor to hopefully save a lot of lives. All of us here at the table recently lost a close friend and really important pillar of our community. In the time that he was on the list, there were no organs available. He himself donated organs to 8 people. So I would just like to encourage folks to really consider becoming an organ donor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor McIsaac?
Thank you, Richard. That's a great pitch. I wonder if we should consider some resolution that BC adopt the opt-out position that has happened. I think Nova Scotia and a couple other provinces have gone to, you automatically opt in, and you have to opt out if you don't want to be an organ donor. Maybe that's something that should be considered at the local government level.
Yeah, I would certainly support that.
Yeah. Other than that, not very much to report. I would like to make a comment with regards to the dog park conversation earlier. There's probably quite a few people in the room that remember before that dog park was there. It was Mordor.
It really was.
It was black. It was full of scrap metal and garbage, and it was unsafe for dog or human in that spot. And that has been an extensive amount of labor by many, many volunteers to turn that into one of the more delightful spots in our community. So yeah, it would be difficult to overstate what a great job that has been done in there, and well, we continue to see that level of participation from volunteers, and our support remains steadfast.
Yeah, I echo those comments. It's, until we had to stop taking our dog to the dog park because of her behavior. It was a wonderful place. Yeah, and I think it's a very fruitful partnership, so I applaud Mr. Logan to continue to work with that organization, because I do think it's a very important amenity to the community, and yeah, if we can expand on that, that would be fantastic. From my perspective, I had the good fortune to welcome the Royal Canadian Legion East Kootenay Zone folks. They met in Fernie on Saturday, and I was able to meet them and have dinner with them. It was a lovely evening. This weekend in Sparwood is the 100th East Kootenay Zone annual mine rescue and first aid competitions from 8 to 3 in Sparwood. For those who are interested, I wish the organizers a great event, and the competitors good luck. Having competed in mine rescue some years back, it was always a nerve-wracking but thrilling weekend, and a great learning opportunity, as close as you can get to actually being in action and in what are some pretty challenging circumstances. So encourage folks who are interested to get out and see that. And I wanted to congratulate Tourism Fernie, whose Ambassador Wild program won a Community Project Award at the recent 2023 BC Economic Summit, and well-deserved for the work they're doing. So without that, unless there's anything else, we shall close our regular meeting of council and adjourn. So thank you everybody for attending this evening, and take good care.